Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this planet, sunshine. I know you're in Manchester, or you actually might be in Bradford today if you see this today, but whenever you see it, it's day 56 of Daddy in Dubai, but it's a special day. And today we have a special lady on, but let me tell you why it's special, right? Every other day is special, but today is World Transformation Day. My friend Kalpesh and a few of his friends years ago, they said, look, somebody made up Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. Why don't we make up a day where we celebrate transformation? Whatever you want to transform yourself, your family, your city, your town, your country. If you want to change the planet, today's the day to celebrate it. Just like there's an excuse on Valentine's Day to buy some flowers. This is an excuse man-made to celebrate transformation. And a couple of years ago, I don't know whether it's due to my success, but they said, listen, Dizzy, why don't you come on board as an ambassador for world transformation? And I said, you know what? I've got a deep and meaningful purpose on planet Earth. I was fortunate to find out at the age of 19 why I was born. And I said to God, I said, listen, can I still be a hairdresser? And he went, of course you can. So, as the storytelling hairdresser, day 56 of Daddy in Dubai, the channel that's dedicated to you, Sunshine, to share my journey and also acknowledge the people that have contributed. And look, yesterday we had a gentleman by the name of Gotham, right? And Gotham is the reason I know this lady up here. And it was at an event called Circle Networking on a ship, the QE2. It was actually a day that I wore a suit for the first time ever. I bought a suit 15 years ago and it never fitted me when I bought it. And then I've been since last transformation day when I started fasting, I'm still fasting and I got into this suit, right? And I wore it on the first time that I met this lady. But the strangest part was they have the circle networking is where you sit for 4 minutes in a circle with four people and then you move on to the next four people. And this lady, I never got a chance to meet her. And I remember we were leaving, and she was walking in front of me, and she had a green skirt and matching trainers. And I said, "Excuse me, lady with the matching skirt and trainers. Hello." And that was it. We connected on a level that was different to everybody else, right? And then from there, we met up for a lunch, which turned out to be 4 hours, where it was just me talking. She couldn't get a word in edgeways, and I said, "Listen, the next one, uh, you can do all the talking." And we went and had another business lunch, and and bearing in mind, I broke my fasting rules to have lunch with this lady, and I had sushi for the first time in 10 years. The events that lead to this lady are there's too many impactful moments for us to not have this conversation today because today's a transformational day and I'm going to say what I want you to help me to transform with as we develop this conversation. But firstly, look, I want to acknowledge you, Andrea, for everything you've done for me on this journey that I've been in Dubai because it's not been easy, even though I make it look easy, right? It's an inside job and there's a lot of work that needs to be done mentally to be able to deal with not having your wife, not having your family. Have been blessed that the place where I'm living, one of my good mates and his missus and mum live here. And that really took the edge off. But 4 weeks ago, they went on holiday, right? And I was on my own. And you can say I'm in my own lane, right? Um, Andrea, you've got to know me over the last, I don't know, 4 weeks.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
So listen, like I said, I want to thank you from the bottom of my
Feels
heart.
like a lifetime.
But for everything you've said and done, you have an inspiring story yourself, which we're going to go into. But like I said, for me, from the bottom of my heart, Jaden, this lady has helped me so much. She was born in Manchester and lived in London, and has a phenomenal story. And like I said, look, once I'm going to hand it over to you, Andrea, to say a few words. But my intention here today, Jaden, is to share some ideas, right, that can not just help you in the future, but to help us all now, right? Because now is the only time that exists. So, Andrea, that's enough of me talking. Let's hear something from you because I want to hear your voice now.
Okay, so good morning, Busy, and good morning, Jaden. Yeah, I'm Andrea L. Richards, and as Dizzy says, I'm originally from Manchester, but moved to London when I was 9 and did all my secondary schooling in London. So I I said, all my family is in Manchester, but me and my mum were down in London, and that. And in October 2025, I decided to make this move to Dubai, having loved this place and traveled here so many times over the last 4 years that I've now come to Dubai to finish my years, as I say. I've done the first 50 years in the UK, and now I intend to spend the next 50 years abroad, away from the UK. And my first stop is definitely Dubai. I'm going to be here for a while. So.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I can see why you've chosen that because look, 56 days in Dubai. I've been in back and forth from this place for a while, and it does have something special. And look, for me, it was the word possibility, right? It's the land where anything's possible, and I am Mr. Possible based on how I've lived. I've been fortunate enough, Sunshine, to live everything that I've dreamt of. And I said to you, should I say, Sunshine? I remember when we talked 2 years ago, I said, I want to wake up and I want a choice of living, waking up and having a coffee or going for a swim in the sunshine. And the sunshine is predominantly 99% of the time we have had a bit of rain. But how's your journey been in Dubai?
Oh, I've loved Dubai. So I've been coming to Dubai since February 2020. So I'm a late comer to Dubai, as they say. Every time I traveled here, there was just an urge to move here constantly. And I'd been talking about moving to Dubai for the last 5 years. And it was always, yeah, I'm going to move to Dubai. I'm going to move to Dubai. And then in December 2024, I was doing my staff Christmas party at a restaurant. And
Oh, you frozen?
I don't live here anymore. I live in Dubai. I took me and my 3 kids to Dubai. And that was the instant click for me. That was like, well, if this young girl can pick up herself and take herself to Dubai, I've just got to stop talking about it and actually do it. So it was at that point that I decided to sort out my residency, sort out my business, and that I moved myself to Dubai. And that was December 24. And in October 25, I moved here.
Amazing.
And that. So my journey here, the first from October to December, I only actually spent 3.5 weeks in Dubai itself because I was actually on a year of travel from September 24. I'd actually been doing a lot of traveling. So the idea was that I got on a plane every month to visit a different country and do something different. And that was for my 50th birthday celebrations, which was in November 24. So every month, I got on a plane and ended up in a different country. And that was part of my birthday celebrations. That's what I did. And October 25, I moved here. So in all that, I was sorting myself out, sorting out the move as well, moved to Dubai. But I still had holidays to take. So in October, November, I had trips that I were already pre-booked. I went to Costa Rica, went to Rome, went to Abu Dhabi, went to oh, how can I forget Kenya? And that in that time, so I'd only actually spent 3.5 weeks in Dubai between October and December. But on January the 4th, I returned. back to Dubai, and literally I've not left, and I don't intend to leave now until I'm actually my next flight is on May the 13th, May the 17th, and that where I'm going to Sardinia for my yoga and meditation retreat. But Dubai is definitely home right now, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Amazing. Look, one of the things that I got from you when I first met you, when you actually got to speak, the first time it was just me talking, right? I know that. And one
You've got a
hour
lot
turned
to
in,
say.
1 hour turned into 4 hours, right? But the next time when I met you and you told me about your story and your family life, right? And look, right now, this whole series was created out of a bad situation. And as a result of the bad situation, I decided if I can't speak to my son, then I'll create a series where I will share my journey every single day. And that was great. And then I had a guest, and that guest made an impact. And I wanted to share that impact with Jaden. And that now that has gone into having a guest every day because
Okay.
I've met the most beautiful people that have really helped me. And I think it's really important to acknowledge the help, to acknowledge the people that have assisted you because it's a good practice, right? Everybody in life wants to be loved and appreciated for who they are. And if somebody genuinely goes out of their way and help you, I think you should tell them, right? So Jaden, whoever gives you assistance, appreciate them, right? Appreciation. So this is almost like an appreciation channel for people that have contributed to my life. And every day there's been different people. And look, your contribution to me has been on a multiple level, right? You introduced me back to sushi, right? That's a big one. I can get those chopsticks and start eating again. And maybe if my wife and I see each other again, we can both go for sushi, right? Secondly,
Love it.
you really inspired me when you talked about your relationship with your family and all of that. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about for World Transformation Day. I don't know how many people are out there with conflict in their families, but the one thing that you shared, and you can dive a bit more into it, is it was really beautiful to hear your story and how is your family structure? Just share it with us, and how have you made that possible? What are the mechanics and the understandings? Because if you can share it and my son can hear it and other people can hear it and it can transform their lives, I think it's only a good thing, right? On a day like today, the transformation I want to make in my own life and in other people's lives, and I think it'll make the world a better place, is family transformation, right? Because
Yeah.
you have it. And when you told me about it, I was thinking to myself, how is that possible? And it's knowing how it's possible is how you make it possible. So, Andrea, go on, tell me the goodness in a way that only you can.
Okay, I don't know which part you're actually specifically talking about. But I mean, if I go back to the beginning, I don't know. Yeah, let's just talk about family dynamics. I had my son very young, my first son. I had my first son when I was 15. And I come from a very large family. So my mum's one of nine, my dad's one of 13. So I have lots of cousins and family around. And my parents split up when I was 4. So, but I've always had a mum and dad. Yeah, when I was in Manchester, I used to spend, the weekdays with my mom and weekends with my dad, spend all that time with them, and that. And so I know my family on both sides. And for me, it's just really important to have family, especially coming from a big family. You
Mm,
know, we I don't really know any areas of my family where we just don't talk. Yeah, there's such an age range vast with the family, in age ranges and stuff. And you've all got your little cliques and whatever. But to say that there's drama and hate in family, for me, just takes up too much energy. We just don't believe in that. It's easier just to, if you have an issue, just to forget about it and just move on. And, it takes too much energy. It's something I'm always saying. It takes too
Mm.
much energy to not talk to someone than it is to just move on from a situation and just talk with them and get on with it. And that for me, I've been to parties and my mum and dad split up when I was 4. My mum and dad can be in the same room at any time. Yeah. When we moved to London, my mum would be have her boyfriend in her bedroom, and my dad would come down and sleep on the sofa, in my mum's house. There was never going to be an area in my life where my mum was going to stop me from seeing my dad. It's really important to have both sides of your family. And so, she'd have her boyfriend at home, and my dad would come from Manchester down to London to come and see me, and he would stay in the same house with all of us. And that it's just easier to get along with people rather than to hold barriers and just create unnecessary tensions. You know, um, my son, my son didn't really, I had him at 15. And so his dad really didn't come into his life properly until he was 25. Now, I don't hold no grudge against the man for that. We were young, and he did what he did. I always let him know where his child was, so he didn't have an excuse not to come and visit his son and whatever. I always let him know where we moved to, so that he could turn up whenever he felt like it, because I always wanted to keep that door open for my son's benefit. Anyway, they have a great relationship now. He turned up when they were 25. And again, my son has that energy that I have where, why are we holding grudges? He's here
Mm.
now. Let me, he has no issues with his dad in that sense, whereas other siblings that his dad has had, that they hold grudges because he wasn't around and that for them and that. But for my son, it's like, well, you're here now.
So
Yeah,
a quick
let's get on.
question, right? When you say,
Go ahead.
so there's look, I'm talking on a personal level now. When someone's holding a grudge against you and you don't know why, that can easily become you holding a grudge of them against them because they're holding a grudge against you. What would you say? I mean, it's not it's not as easy of just letting go, but again, like you're saying, it does take energy. What can you how can you help with that?
For me, holding hate or tension takes so much energy that all it does is affect everything else around you.
Mm,
So, yes, for me, it's easier just to let go. Yeah. Even if you're not going to find out what that issue was,
mm,
move on from that day and move forward with love in your heart, and let's just get on with it, because holding the hate drags you back. It stops you from functioning. It stops
mm,
you from moving forward. And why would you want that? Why would you want to live with a heavy heart? Yeah.
mm.
Even if you don't find out what the issue is, can we not just start from today and move forward?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's just because to hold it just builds more and more angst. And why would you want that? Why would you want more and more angst? It's just not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're in the same room, if you're talking on the phone, whatever it is, and you can't resolve what happened prior, for me, it's like, cool, let's start from here and move forward. And that, because it's easier to just have love in your heart and move forward than it is to
Mm,
hold on to it and just not function and move forward. It for me, it just makes, it's just light, just making your life lighter. Why hold on to angst when you can just make your life lighter and leave that shit behind you? Sorry, Drayden, don't talk like that. Leave that rubbish behind you. And that, for me, it's just easier. Like I said, my mum and dad have a relationship where they can be in that same room. Yeah. 46 years on, yeah, 46 years on, and they can still be in the same room. I've been at parties where I've had my mum, my sister's mum, my dad's ex-girlfriend, my dad's current girlfriend, all in the room, and everybody talks. Yeah. So I
Mm.
truly believe this comes from my dad's side of the family, where it's just easier to just be chill
Mm.
rather than hold the angst. Because angst doesn't resolve anything. It
Just let
doesn't
go of
resolve
it, eh?
anything.
Just let go.
Let go and move forward. Yeah, because it just makes life lighter. And if you're lighter, you just produce more happiness and whatever it is that you're doing. It's easier when you don't have angst sitting behind you and dragging you down like an anchor. That's pointless.
I wish
To
I'd
me,
have
that's
spoken
pointless.
to
And
you about 2 hours ago because I went down to have breakfast. And like I said, today was the first day where I normally I'll have prayers playing on my laptop all night. And because I wanted to watch the boxing and
as
I
you
was
do.
feeling sleepy, I thought, you know what, I'm falling asleep at my table watching the boxing. I thought, let me just put it on the bed. And then Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder. Look, I'm a boxing fan, yeah. Derek Chisora's like a legend, and it was his last fight, and I thought I've got to see it. And I remember I got myself set up on the bed, and then I woke up, and it was 5 in the morning, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I missed it. I missed the fight.
Oh, you didn't watch the fight?
No, I had to watch it this morning. I watched it this
Okay.
morning about 9 o'clock, and I really enjoyed the fight, man. I knew the result, but I was still rooting for Derek, saying, "Come on, man, come on, get him." And look, Jaden, you know I love boxing, right? And so yeah, so as a result of me missing the fight, I didn't do my usual evening routine where I wake up feeling blessed, and I don't know whether it's because of the prayers are on throughout my whole sleep, right? And I remember on February the 17th, my mum and dad said, "Oh, you got to do this prayer all night." And I was like, "Really?" So I did it. And I woke up amazing. And I thought, right, if this is what happens and you play this all night, I play it every night. So since February the 17th, I've had these prayers on every single night. I go to sleep with them and I wake up with them. And it's been beautiful, right? I feel really blessed. Today was the first time since then that I haven't. And the first thing I missed was my son. And I broke down. I was like, why can I not see my kid, man? And I sent my wife a message. I sent her two messages. The second one I deleted. The first one I didn't because it was nice. I just said, listen, please, I just want to see my son, man. Just sort it out. And then I think I got a bit angry and then I deleted it after I sent it. So hopefully she hasn't seen that. But like you said, so I went down for breakfast and I couldn't eat my breakfast. I said to the guy, I said, you know what, I don't even feel like eating, man. And I know had I have let go, I would have probably had that breakfast because I fast Monday to Friday and I devour breakfasts on a Saturday. So yesterday I had the best breakfast ever, man. Honestly, it was so good. It tastes so good, man, when you don't get a chance to have it. And then you can like having a croissant first thing in the morning. It's like, oh, most of you people take croissants lightly as a daily thing, but for me, having a croissant first thing in the morning, it's like, oh.
Love that.
And look, the fasting thing I started last year for world. I did it for world trans. I did it for Ramadan. Then I carried on doing it, and I made that my transformational story. But look, this
Mm.
year I did have something else in mind, but that wasn't possible. But I think the reason that wasn't possible is because the biggest thing I can change today for me in my life is my family scenario. And when I thought of that, I thought, you know what? The only person I can speak to is Andrea because you do speak sense, right? In the time that I've known you,
Oops.
after the second brunch, was it? Yeah, after the second brunch, you suggested about going to the races, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And the races, that was our lane, yeah,
It's
because
a good
we
day.
showed up, right? We showed up,
It's a good
the thing
day.
I had in mind was, listen, if the whole world's watching, yeah, you better dress up good.
It was a good day.
And it was a good day, man. Honestly, it was a really
Yeah.
good day. I really enjoyed myself, and thank you for the invitation. But look, from that point onwards, there's obviously more things have developed. Now, the other thing I want to add, Jaden, this lady, Andrea, when she was 9 years old, she wanted to be an accountant. I don't know anybody that wants to be an accountant, number one. Number two, they want to be an accountant from the age of 9 years old. Jaden, you're 10. Well, when you watch this, you might be 10, you might be 11 or whatever. But this lady here wanted to be an accountant since the age of 9. Tell us that story.
Okay. Simple things. My mum had gone to parents' evening. I was 9. She'd gone to parents' evening. And then she came back and she says, "Oh, Andrea, you're doing really well in maths. You're brilliant at maths. They say you're really good at the maths and that. You should be an accountant." Well, at 9, I had no idea what an accountant was.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
back then, yeah, no idea. I had no idea what an accountant did and that. But I went to the Oxford Dictionary because that's what you do. Back then, we didn't have the
Google.
internet to look things up. Back then, yeah, that didn't exist. So I went to the Oxford Dictionary and I looked up accountant and I thought, oh, okay. So I found out what an accountant did and that. And then I went to the newspaper because again, there was no internet.
Mm,
All jobs were in the newspaper and that. And so I looked up jobs for accountants and then I saw how much they would earn. And I got excited. And
okay.
Lee, from that day, I said, I'm going to be an accountant. I also learned that day, having looked in the newspaper, that there was a job called a bookkeeper. Had
Mm,
to look that one up in the Oxford Dictionary and that. I was like, okay, looking at those jobs. And I was like, okay, there's stepping stones to this. And yeah, you're going to be an accountant, bookkeeper, accountant. That's what you're going to do. And literally from that day forward, when any adult or anybody asked, what are you going to be when you're older, as you do when you get asked that all the time as a
mm.
kid, it was an accountant, an accountant. And I've stuck to that. I
Yeah,
literally stuck to that at the age 10. What are you going to be, Andrea? Oh, an accountant. 11, an accountant. 12, an accountant. 13, an accountant. 14, yeah,
let me
an
guess.
accountant.
Accountant, yeah.
Yeah. But at 14, things have slightly changed.
It's like
Slightly
hiccup.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I was all into my books. I was an A-star student. I was all into my books. I had this plan. I knew my stepping stones. I knew I was going to take my GCSEs, my A levels. Then I was going to go to uni and do a degree in accounting. And then I was going to go work in an accountant. I'd planned this. I'm going to be an accountant. Yeah, I knew exactly what was going to happen. But at 14, other things had come into play. Boys and that. And so the mind had shifted slightly, but I was still an A grade student. And yeah, I'm still going to be an accountant. But yeah, it was at 14 when I met my son's father. And literally, I was his girlfriend. I thought it was the bee's knees. He drove a mini, everything
All
was great. He
right.
used to drop me to school in his car and stuff. I thought I was the bee's knees. And yeah, I fell pregnant at 15. So, things did change. But again, I'm that girl. Like I had a plan and I just had to change to plan B. Yeah,
Mm,
things had to change. Obviously, with a baby in tow, there wasn't going to be the normal stepping stones to
yeah.
becoming an accountant. And so I changed the plan. And yes, I did got my GCSEs, A-star student, did really well, got my A's and B's. And then I left there and I went to Hackney Sixth Form College to go and do my A levels. And I did 1 year of A levels and then decided at that point that this is not for me. I need money. I have a child in tow. I needed money and that. And so I decided to get a job. And my first job I got was at Springboard Housing Association as a junior finance assistant. And they paid for me to study in the evenings.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I had Lamont in tow, it's my son's name, I had Lamont in tow. He'd go to nursery every day. And I used to leave my house 7:15, get him to the nursery by 8 o'clock, get to the office by 9 o'clock and do a full working day, pick him up by 6 o'clock. And then from there, on was it 2 or 3 days a week, I had to go to college in the evenings. I was blessed. My mum would pick up my son from nursery on those evenings. And I went to college, did my studies with the college, and then go and pick up my son from my mum's, and then go home, go to bed, repeat next
To
day.
repeat, yeah.
And that. So by the time I was 22, I was actually qualified.
Okay.
So it was great, and I actually did it all with, nowadays kids have all this university debt. I had 6 years worth of working experience in finance and the qualifications underneath my belt, so paid for by my employers. So there was no student debt. 6 years worth of experience, and from then I managed to yeah, do really well in accountancy, if
Look,
I must
I
say
think
so myself.
something really important to highlight here is, when you got pregnant, there's a stereotype, right? Where
Yeah.
there's two ways you could have gone, right? What was it that separated you and made you go the way you did?
I think knowing what I wanted to do
Mm,
was helpful. I already knew I wanted to be an accountant, and just because there was now going to be a kid in tow didn't change that plan for me. And so I had
mm,
to make sure that I did still go and get my qualifications, that I did go and because I had a plan. Yeah. And just because you have a kid doesn't make that plan change.
yeah.
You have options. Yeah. And it's down to you what options you take. Yeah. I took the path where I wanted to still be successful. I could have. Yeah. In my school at that time, there was two other girls that were pregnant, and they chose a different path to me.
Yeah.
I chose to finish school and get my qualifications and continue the process. Yeah, they chose to take the benefit money and do what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that their lives are different to mine.
You,
One
you
I
have
still
you made a
know, the
different
other
choice,
one,
right?
yeah, yeah. People make choices in life. You've got to
Mm,
work out what choices are going to be better for you. Yeah, for me, I wanted to be an accountant. That was always going to be the choice. For me to have sat down and gone on benefits just wouldn't have worked. Yeah, I needed to continue those studies. And so I found a path and an avenue where I could still do that. I went to part of after the first year of A levels, I decided I wanted to get a job. So I initially, before I got the job, I went on a youth training scheme, YTS back then it was called,
oh yeah, I
youth
remember
training
that.
scheme,
£1
and
an
I did
hour.
that. Right. And so with that, you go to college and, you get this qualification. I did business administration with a route into accounting. And with that, they was it you studied, I think it was you studied 4 times a week and you had one day in work or whatever, something like that. Anyway, when you did that course, I think they used to pay something like £35 a week you got for going on this YTS training
Yeah,
scheme or
yeah, yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that I used my £35 to pay for the childminder. Yeah, so I didn't benefit from it. Yeah, but my
Mm,
benefit was yeah, okay, they'll end up with that £35, which leaves me with nothing, but I'm still going to be able to get that qualification that I need to move on and get the job and blah, 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 blah. That was my thought process. So everybody else on the YTS had this £35 to go and do whatever they wanted with. Mine went straight to the childminder, straight to the childminder
yeah.
and that, so that I could do what I wanted to do. But I had a plan and that. And
Mm,
I truly believe if you have a plan and a focus, yeah, and you try and work out how you're going to get there in the end.
yeah. So Jaden, look, whatever. I know Jaden's got some options, and I often say to him, "Son, what do you want to do?" And I remember saying to him, he got into drama. We sent him to like a drama school where he did a bit of dancing, uh, public speaking, all that kind of stuff. And I've encouraged him to be outward and speak to everybody. So I remember on his first ever drama school, they got a certificate for amazing confidence, right? And I said, obviously, you're my son, and it. Come on, I got it was really funny, right? So the my wife and I are very different, and that's perfectly fine. But the first 4 years, because I was always in the barber shop working, he was always with her. And I thought, God, I need 3 months with this kid without her interfering, right? Not because she's wrong, but just to show him the other side, right? Because
Yeah, the
both
balance.
sides are good. It's good to have organization and security, and it's good to have spontaneity and wild dreams and all of that craziness that I bring to the table, right? So I'm saying to myself, God, can you give me 3 months with my son without her interfering? And as a mother, that's never going to happen, right? You're
No.
never going to let the father have the son for 3 months without you interfering. It's like, excuse me, he's my son. Yeah. So I got that. But then, you know what happened? COVID happened. And I was blessed, man. Sorry, I was blessed, Andrea, that um, I got 3 months with my son, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, because my wife got a new job and she had to learn and stay at home to do it. And because he was so attached to her, I had to pretend that she'd gone to work before 9 o'clock. She'd go to the spare room and hide in there because if he knew she was upstairs, he'd just go and knock on the door. He was a mummy's boy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was so blessed that God gave me those 3 months, right, in COVID, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, just me and my son, right? And I often say to people, you know what? COVID was a blessing because I learned three things, right? I learned how to be a dad because it
Hmm.
was just me and him, 9 to 5. We went out into the forest. My mate's got a really big house in Manchester with private gates and everything, and I knew the code. So every day in the morning, we'd just go to his house. I'd open the gates, and he had acres and acres of land. So all them COVID stuff didn't apply to me because I had nature, and there were
Yeah.
rabbits and the river, and it was honestly, it was the best time ever. And I got
Oh.
to, you could say, imprint on my son and teach him some new stuff, right? Anyway, so I also learned how to grow vegetables because the weather was good and we got a big garden. And then my mate rang me up and he said, do you want to do something in crypto? And I learned how to do crypto, and that changed my financial
Nice.
life for quite a while. It had its ups and it's had its downs, and I learned from that. But my son then, because he did the drama stuff, we then changed him to a different drama school where he could possibly get scouts and people that can come. Anyway, so in the new place that he's gone to, he's had loads of work, right? And he's been on Netflix, he's been on adverts, he's done various things and he really enjoys it. And his
Nice.
confidence is growing more and more with all these people. And I said to him one day when we were driving, I said, "What do you want to do when you're older, son?" He goes, "I want to be an actor, Daddy. I want to do movies and
Ah.
all that kind of stuff." And I was like, okay. Listen, if that's what you want to do, son, no matter what you want to do in life, I'll back you. Yeah.
Hmm.
Whatever you
Hmm.
choose to do, however you choose to do it, as your dad, I said, my job is to support you and guide you to do the right thing. And if you're going down the wrong path, I'll come with you and just
Hmm.
be there to pick you up. Yeah.
Yep. Fish him
Because,
out.
yeah, because the thing is, look, my dad's done it to me. And look, I got to rate my dad. I said, when I got to 26, yeah, because I got kicked out when I was 17. Because I was that. I said to my son, I said, listen, your granddad sat there, yeah, whilst I was cutting his hair in the barber shop. And I said, ask your granddad, how bad was your daddy? And they were like, this guy was bad, man.
Hard
And
work.
I said to my parents, I said, you know what? I know when I have my own child, I'm gonna get it. Yeah. Based on what I put you guys through, I know what I'm gonna get. And I'm ready for it, right? I know what to expect. And I know how to treat him. And look, my dad's been a legend all my life, even to this day. Year 49, I said I did a one series with them, and I said, you know what? I'm so grateful that you've had my back because 49 was my hardest year of my life. And I
Hmm.
often say this because I've had tough times, but tough times are tougher when you've got responsibilities. I said, I've been in tough times before, but and not every guy's like this, but I don't want to be in a household where I'm not contributing, right? I'm not that guy. I can't sponge off my
Yeah.
wife. It's never been me. You could say I'm an old school guy where I want to pay for everything. If you're my wife, I don't even want you to work. But
Hmm.
my wife is an independent lady. When I did take her out of work, she felt lost. So she's an amazing woman, right? She's achieved so much herself before she met me, and she'll go
Hmm.
on to achieve a lot more because of who she is and how she's operated. And she is the order in my life. I said this to you the other day,
You did.
planning my birthday, my 50th birthday. I had all these crazy ideas. Oh, I'm going to get a marquee. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. And when I told her the story, she just popped the bubble straight away. And I was like, what do you know about marquees? And she said, I know a lot about marquees. And then she reeled off all these reasons why it's a bad idea to have a marquee for my birthday. And I sat there and I thought, okay, listen, just absorb this information. And the more I absorbed it, I was like, you're right, you're
Yeah, she's a good
absolutely right.
woman.
And look, I give her credit where credit's due, and I understand she is the opposite of me because life is not a one-sided thing, right? If you only see things one way, you're going to attract a partner who's the opposite, just so you can get balanced out, right? Unless you can
Yeah,
balance
yeah,
yourself, you're not going to get balanced. And I know she's the equal and opposite of me. Look, as a result of what's happened, we're having this conversation, and we don't know how many people's lives this conversation is going to impact. I know
yes.
yesterday, I love Gotham because of his relationship with his dad, right? And I said, how does it feel growing up with a dad like yours? Who
Mm.
writes a book at 75 with 75 chapters, with
Oh, wow.
75 poems, 75 quotes, and an explanation for each one on his 75th birthday? I said, Gotham, man, your dad's a living gangster, man. Like, who does that? And to have that as your dad, it's like,
Mm.
what does it feel like? So that conversation yesterday, when I put it out there, I got two phone calls from two people I know. One of them was saying to me, he goes, Dizzy, you know what? I've grown up without a dad, but that conversation meant so much to me. Don't stop what you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. And look, I'm only doing it for my son, right?
Yeah,
Because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And Sunshine, watching this, I want you to understand that this lady at the age of 9 knew what she wanted to do. And no matter what obstacles came in her way, whatever curveball you want to call it, you were focused on what you wanted to do. And Sunshine, whatever you want to do in life, you can do it. You can have it. And
yeah.
that's who I am. I'm a man of possibility, and that's what I stand for. So, um, any words of advice for Jaden?
Yeah, so Jaden, just keep the focus. Yeah, it's mummy and daddy are complete opposites, but they're going to balance you out totally. And that's great for you. You've got two extremes which make you the perfect balance. And you anything you want to do in life, just keep that focus. Yeah. And if anything happens that changes the equilibrium of where you want to go, what you want to do, again, just come back and focus on that because you will get to where you want to be and what you want to do. Um, when it comes to people, yeah, like I said, it's easier to love than it is to hate. Yeah. And so always have that thought in your mind that when, things go wrong with people, it's easier to let things go to move forward and that. And that's all really I've got to say. But
Magic.
yeah,
Well, look,
good luck, Jaden.
thank you very much for your time, Andrea. Look, what I am going to do, if you send me all the links to who you are, what you do, and I'll make sure they're in the link. So if you need an accountant, but not just any accountant, if you want a cool accountant that's wanting to be an accountant since the age of 9, this is your lady, and the link will be down below in the description. You can send me all the good stuff, and I'll make sure it's in the description. And then on top of that, look, it's day 56 of Daddy in Dubai. It's World Transformation Day. And there's an opportunity right now. Whoever's watching this, if not just you, Jaden, but there's an opportunity right now to transform something. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of every day and do it. So, Andrea, it's been a plum pleasing pleasure to have you on the show. It was perfectly timed and perfectly rhymed because I'm Dizzy Taylor, revealing the times through explicit rhymes. And look, I've got a feeling,
This guy's great.
you know what? It's been a beautiful day considering how I started. Yeah. And I really want to thank you for that because I needed it, man. I needed it and really needed it. Today was a waking up was a struggle, but I know what I did differently, right? I know I've got God. And listen, Jaden, God is the greatest. God has guided me to where I am today, and he'll carry on guiding me. And it's funny how the people I've met on this journey, some of them are snakes, some of them are ladders. And I said to Gotham, I said, "You're like an elevator, man. You're like a lift, innit?" You just took me straight to the top, man. Because look, Gotham's a good guy, man.
He is
I don't know how long you've known him, but as an individual, the idea of breaking bread, it's just
brilliant.
it's brilliant, right? And yeah, so on that note, I'm gonna break some bread because I got my appetite back now.
Love
Thank you very
that.
much, Andrea. And we'll speak
Thank
soon. Yeah, please
you.
send me all the
Thank
links
you.
on
I will
WhatsApp
do.
so I've got it. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dizzy. Speak to you soon. Bye.